folks, it's Finn. So it's time for me to do a lower surgery catch-up. Actually, it's way overdue. And a lot of people ask me when I'm doing one, and I have to apologise, but with everything else that's been going on, I just haven't been able to find the time or the ability to do lower surgery vlogs. The thing is, it takes a lot to share so openly on this channel, and I share incredibly openly about lower surgery, and that's something that wasn't an easy decision, but I found it so hard to find good information, honest information, that I then wanted to share my experience to kind of fill that gap. But in saying that, it's a really hard thing to do. It leaves you really vulnerable. So with all that's been going on with the breakup and the move, I just haven't been able to go to that place and share openly, you know. So thank you to those that have understood that. I do still continue to want to share, so I will do that. I have uploaded my Tumblr recently, which you can find here. But on this vlog now, I'll just talk you through a little bit about stage 2. So I had stage 2 radial artery forearm phalloplasty on the 9th of April in the Spire Hospital. So I am now 2 months, 3 weeks and 1 day post-op. To be honest, I've been incredibly lucky with stage 2. I think it was the stage where I anticipated having the most amount of complications, because that seems to be what happens for most people. Problems with like the urethral hookup, because you've got to hook it up so much further, you tend to get fissulas or little holes and what have you, and things don't heal properly straight off, and the glands, the tip of the penis, can take a while to heal. But I've been very lucky. I've had none of that whatsoever. The last vlog I was talking about how I'd had the catheter out and I'd had my first pee. In fact, I put my first pee on YouTube, talking about being open and vulnerable. You can watch that here. And that was incredible. My first pee went absolutely fine, and that was it. Once that catheter was out and I was peeing, I was absolutely fine. I've heard a lot of people talking about waiting a while to use a urinal, but I went out like a couple of days later and needed the toilet, so I just rocked up and used the urinal, and it was just incredible. I mean, for me, it might make a bit of difference that I was using a standard pee device at urinals, so I was kind of used to doing that. So that anxiety wasn't really there. I'd already broken through that bit. But saying that, it's another thing entirely to do it with your own penis. It's just, you know, it's amazing to not have to worry about, have I got any backflow, you know, can someone tell that this is silicone and not flesh? You know, to have my own penis flopped out at a urinal is just absolutely amazing. It really is. The healing of the vaginectomy, I hate saying that word, is all fine. I mean, I'm still sore along the seam line, I guess you'd call it, where I've been sewn up. That can get a little bit sore at times, but it's nothing major. I mean, that all healed up. The biggest thing I was pleased about, that there was no bleeding there whatsoever, which I'm grateful for, because I was feeling so dysphoric. Even though it's like male bleeding and it's not menstruation, it was still going to be a huge dysphoria-inducing mess if that happened, and luckily it didn't. I had a tiny little hole under my phallus where he had to fix some urethral narrowing that had happened, because they create the first bit of the urethra in stage 1, and then that's hooked up in stage 2, which I've had. So there was a tiny hole there, but it was fine. And I think what helped my recovery more than anything is I just laid naked. TMI, I know, but I think that's the best way, just to lay it naked with all your clothes off and your bits out, so it can just all heal. And that's pretty much what I did. I mean, I couldn't move anyway. This stage, for me personally, was more painful. But it was shorter lived. I've said this before, that trying to compare the two in pain levels, you can't really, because pain is pain. When you're in pain, there's no saying, oh, this wasn't worse than that pain, or it was, you know, there isn't any of that. It's just pain. But now I've gone through it, in retrospect, this was more intense pain, but for a shorter period. Whereas for me, stage 1 was just constant niggly pain for months, it seemed, because of all the different areas healing and what have you. So yeah, I mean, the worst thing for me was that every time I stood, it was just throbbing downstairs, and I guess that's the vaginectomy. And also the catheter was just banging against my bladder walls and just causing me hell on earth. But yeah, once that was out, everything's fine, you know. I've really got nothing to report from stage 2. I'm just feel very blessed, which I'm grateful for, because, you know, this whole breakup happened just like a week into recovery, and if I hadn't recovered well, God knows how I'd have managed that, or managed to move. I wouldn't have been able to move, you know, absolutely not. In terms of the hysterectomy, people have asked me about, am I aware of like a space there, and how do I feel about it? And the truth is, I really don't know. I keep kind of like trying to look inside myself and kind of, I mean, I know it's a tiny space really, but you'd think there'd be some kind of awareness, but there really isn't. I mean, I have a desire to be a parent, but I've never had a desire to carry a child, so there isn't that loss. But if I'm honest, there is a loss that, you know, if I meet somebody in the future and I can't have my own biological children, you know, that is upsetting, but there was no way around that really. There really wasn't, and so, you know, it is how it is, and I would love to adopt or foster at some point. I was about to say I'd love to adopt or foster when I'm older. I still feel like a child. But no, I don't feel it. And in terms of the emotions, this is really hard to say. Some guys say that after the surgery they have a real up and down with their hormones and what have you. I've just gone through a breakup and I've moved, so I don't really know what's the hysterectomy and what's the emotional upheaval. I don't really know, so who knows. I had my blood test done, but I've moved, so I've not got my results yet, so I'm waiting to find out about my T levels, and I'll let you know if they were affected. In terms of the vaginectomy, I shared a lot on my Tumblr about being freaked out about the back cave being closed. I knew I wanted lower surgery, and I knew I wasn't going to use the back cave, but the idea of it being there, and I thought I'd feel really panicky with everything kind of closed, but it's like it's never been there. It's really, really bizarre. I said this about top surgery, right, that it wasn't like anything was taken away, it was like something was revealed, and it's the same with lower surgery. It's not the feeling of anything missing or changing, it's like a space has been filled where there were bits there anyway, but they didn't show. It's weird. I read this thing in doing some research recently about looking at lower surgery and guys' experience of dysphoria as being a kind of phantom limb syndrome, where you have like the neural pathways in your brain, forgive me, I'm not a scientist, that says that there is a body part and that's all wired up, and because something's happened so the penis hasn't grown, the brain still thinks it's there, because I did have a bit of phantom penis thing going on every now and again. So I wonder if that's what's happened. It's just like my brain knew it was there, so now it's been created, it's just like, oh there it is, revealed. Does this make sense? I don't know. So yeah, I did write a blog on my Tumblr about like the freaking out of the back cave, but in all honesty, it doesn't feel like it's ever been there, and it's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Completely. The other thing that I was worried about was whether or not to bury my T-dick, my clitoris. I'm glad I did. That's worked out really, really well. It's difficult to go into detail on video. There's a bit more detail in my Tumblr vlog. But basically, because it's been buried, and Mr. Christopher came in and said, if you want to find it, it's just to the left. No, just to the right. Well, thanks. But I don't need to find it, if you see what I mean. Where it's been buried, at the base, underneath, I've got sensation all along that base. So use your imagination. It's fine. In terms of feeling in the phallus, some people seem to get loads of feeling straight after. That hasn't been the case for me. I've still got a lot of displaced feeling. Like where they take the two nerves and they hook it up through your penis. One goes into the back of your clitoris, and then one goes into like the side of your leg. And so when I touch my penis at the moment, I feel it either in my old equipment, which isn't even there anymore, which is weird, or in my side. So I have feeling, but I don't feel it in my dick exactly. It's all rewiring and it's all a bit weird. But it was kind of like sharp feeling at first. That's settled down. It's not sharp, but it's just like, you know when you've got pins and needles and you run your hand over like that and it kind of comes to life? That's kind of what happens when I touch my penis, but rather than feel it in the hand, I feel it like elsewhere. It's amazing how the body works, isn't it, and how they do this. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say. I'm gesturing a lot because I don't know what to say about stage 2. Bloomin' lucky is what I am, I think. You know, I was up and running, or up and weeing everywhere, and I've not had an issue. And dripping. People have talked about dripping. I think all cis guys drip. I think you just get used to it. I've noticed that guys stand at urinals for quite a long time, and I think maybe that's just what we're not used to doing, is we just think we kind of wee and go. And guys don't, they kind of stand there for a while and give it a shake and another shake. The good thing about Glastonbury, right, with lots of drunk people and you're crammed in, you get to have a proper look at how people do things. So I've learned quite a bit at Glastonbury about, like, you know, the proper, like, shake technique. I have noticed that, I guess where they've hooked the urethra up and it goes like from underneath down the penis, if I squeeze there, a little bit more comes out, so maybe like, where there's a little bend there might be a bit of collection. But that's what I do when I'm holding and I've had a wee. I just have a general little squeeze there and then just shake. I don't have to worry too much. I haven't had an issue, let's say that anyway, so I'm very, very lucky. I am also 10 months post-op first stage, but I'll do a separate video about that and I'll show you what the arm looks like. I'm waiting for stage 3, which is the insertion of the pump device, the erection device. Miss Christopher did say August, but it's London and that never happens. And to be honest, I'm in no rush really at the moment. I just, whenever happens, happens. I've got a year left at uni now, which has changed things. So, you know, I think I'd quite like it done this side of Christmas, really, if possible, but we'll see what happens, and I will keep you informed. But yeah, any questions, please do drop me a message, either in the comments below, or over on my Finn fan page, and you know, I'm always happy to discuss in more detail things in general, so do drop me a message, always happy to help, and you can find those pictures on my Tumblr page. Right, thanks for watching everybody. I will update in a bit about stage 2 and show you my arm and stuff. Love you, bye.